Sponsored by Bet365.
Round 5 of the Super Rugby competition upon us. We're here as always at Rugby.com.au for our favourite part of the week, Tahs Tips. It's coming in again. Prop, Matt Nelling.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Mate, last weekend you told us you'd get a perfect round. We've done the calculations here, 6 out of 8. What have you got to say for yourself, mate?
Fell too short. The Jaguares are obviously proving very, very strong at home, beating the Cheetahs, and the Waratahs let me down badly against the Brumbies, and the Waratahs are really under a lot of pressure after that performance.
You're not wrong about that, mate. Looking at the first game for this week, though, it is the Crusaders taking on the Force. Over in Christchurch, the Crusaders have won 4 of their last 5 against the Force, and the Force haven't won in their last 6 attempts in New Zealand. Yeah,
it doesn't get any easier for the Force. Obviously, I had the bye last week, which they should be well rested, but tough going over to Christchurch and winning at the best of times. The Force have only played Australian side, so they're really going to lift up another grade here. The Crusaders, perfect record, haven't been beaten, and aren't playing, probably in 4th or 5th gear, still haven't gone all the way yet to 6th gear, so, it's going to be a very tough task. Hodgson comes back, Matt Hodgson, that's a great inclusion back on the bench. The real soul of that team. It's great to have him back. And Tafu gets his first start of the year. And obviously the really strange selection policy of resting Dane Halapeti for 2 rounds. He won't be playing this week and will be sorely missed. He was the standout player in the Super Rugby last year for Australia. So he's going to be sorely missed.
The second Aussie Conference game of the round, Tuck. It sees the Waratahs travel to Melbourne to take on the Rebels. The Rebels beat the Waratahs last year in Sydney. If they win this time, it'll be their first back-to-back win against the New South Wales side.
Yeah, look, both teams must win for them. The Rebels were much improved last week, playing the Chiefs at home, and were really in that game up until the last sort of 12, 13 minutes, I think, and performed so much better. And they've only played Kiwi sides. They've been up in grade, playing some really top opposition. This is an opportunity for the Rebels to really get back into this season. And obviously Hansen plays his 100th Super Rugby game, so the boys will be up for that. And Lepeti Tamani, he comes back from injury and is on the bench this week, so he'll be a massive inclusion. He's been outstanding for the Rebels. And where do we go with the Waratahs? Nathan Gray, the defence coach, has called it a must-win. Selection changes everywhere. Obviously, the biggest one is obviously Phibbs being dropped back to the bench and Gordon being brought into the back line. A total reshuffle. Horrocks at 12, Horn at 13, and then Kellaway in the wing and Flau at fullback. It's a massive reshuffle. I think they had to make some changes, but I don't know how this is going to go this week for them. They're going to have to really lift their game and really looking for Israel Folau really to inject this side. I think they've really missed him on kick returns and in the back there. I'd love to see him at fullback, especially in defence. I know last year they tried to play him in fullback in defence and 13 in attack, and that worked well for them. But this year, just at 13, doesn't seem to have worked for the Waratahs.
Saturday night down in Canberra, Tuck, and the Brumbies host the Highlanders. The Canberra side will be desperate to avenge that loss in the finals last year.
Yeah, most definitely. The Brumbies put their season back on track last week with a great win over the Waratahs. Wasn't pretty, but got the job done. Obviously, Bernie Larkin's dropping of Scott Fardy was a masterstroke because he came back and he played exceptionally well last week. Henry Spate was great last week, and young Joe Powell must be in Michael Checker's thoughts for future Wallaby selection in the June series. Now, the Highlanders, it's a must-win game for them too. They've only had 1 win this year, and they have played all right. They've lost some tight games this year, so it's a must-win for them, and I think they'll be too strong.
The final Aussie Conference game of the round is perfect timing. Sunday morning, 8:30, sees the Reds and the Jaguars playing each other over there in Argentina. The first time the Jaguars have played an Australian franchise.
Yeah, perfect time, mate, if you're just getting home from a big night or you want to skip church. It's a great time to watch rugby. But, yeah, the Jaguars are really finding their feet this year from last year, their second year in this super competition. I've tipped against them the last 2 weeks at home and been bitten badly. I can't see that happening this week. The Reds were really poor last week against the Lions, and on top of being poor, they've lost Cooper for 3 weeks for a head-eye tackle. The old adage, you can't run without a head. Well, he tried that, it didn't work. And now that Slipper's out with a terrible injury, ruptured Achilles, it really puts a lot of pressure on their season. And I really thought, this was going to be their season, but it's not turning out that way.
Here's your chance, Tuck. Time to rectify that imperfect round from last week. What have you got for us?
Here we go, Marty. Crusaders to beat the Force. Rebels to beat the Waratahs in a close one. Can't believe I'm doing that one. Blues to beat the Bulls. Highlanders to beat the Brumbies. Stormers to give it to the Sunwolves. Lions to smash the Kings. Cheetahs to beat the Sharks. Jaguars to beat the Reds.
I reckon you're pretty close on the money this week, Tuck. I did notice, though, you tipped against your 2 former teams in the Waratahs and the Force.
Yeah, it hurts to do that, but you've got to tip with your head, not your heart. And hopefully the Waratahs can prove me wrong.
Plenty of rugby on this weekend. The Super U20s will be streamed live on Rugby.com.au, along with the Aussie Conference games through our radio broadcast on the website. And remember, of course, if you are going to have a bet this weekend, do so responsibly.